quad bike units annihilate Russian assaults fast. It's Tuesday, January 20, 2026. The front lines of Donetsk are just burning. And the tactics we're seeing look less like a modern military and more like something out of a dystopian movie. But before we get into all that chaos, you know what to do. Subscribe to Defense Reports. It's your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Aria in the latest podcast by Defense Report for sharp, no-nonsense breakdowns of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today, we're going to cover a thwarted breakthrough near the village of Preschein that might just explain the entire future of war.
It's a fascinating and, frankly, a terrifying glimpse into where everything is heading. We aren't really looking at tanks today. We're looking at a major superpower trying to break through fortified lines using, well, a swarm of motorcycles and quad bikes.
You heard that right. We're going to be talking about why multi-million-dollar armored columns are being swapped out for what looks, for all the world, like a Mad Max biker gang. But we aren't just looking at the mud and the blood here. We're going to connect this to a really groundbreaking theoretical paper called The End of the Exposed Warfighter.
That paper is the key to everything. It argues that putting a human being on the front line is becoming not just dangerous, which, it always was, but economically impossible.
And we're going to cover Ukraine's secret weapon. And it's not a missile from the West, it's not a tank, it's a network of charities, coders, and IT experts that are somehow outpacing a massive government bureaucracy to keep the front lines from breaking.
Exactly. Our mission is to connect these dots from the dirt bikes in Donetsk to the cold, hard math of modern nutrition.
So settle in. This is going to be a wild ride. Let's unpack this. Let's start right there on the ground. Preschein, Donetsk region. What in the world is happening?
It was a coordinated assault. And if you saw the footage, you'd think it was a stunt show gone horribly wrong. According to the 7th Rapid Response Corps, the Ukrainian Air Assault Forces, Russian commanders tried to push a column of motorcycles and quad bikes right toward the village.
Hold on, let me just picture this. We're talking about actual two-wheeled dirt bikes, like the kind you'd see on a trail on a weekend?
Exactly those.
Yeah.
And quad bikes, ATVs, the idea was all about speed. They were trying to bypass the main roads, just move really fast over open fields to get infantry into the trenches before they could be hit.
But the Ukrainian defense isn't static, is it? Drone operators must have spotted them instantly.
Almost immediately. And once they're spotted, it's pretty much over. The Ukrainians cut the logistics route first, which trapped them. Then they used a combination of artillery and FPV drones to methodically dismantle the infantry out in those open fields.
Dismantle is a very polite word for what that must have looked like. But the thing that gets me is that this isn't some one-off event. This isn't one rogue commander with a bad idea. We've been seeing this trend ramp up since way back in spring of 2024.
Right. And to understand why, you have to look at the context from sources like the Telegraph and the Express Tribune. Russia is facing a critical, really a systemic shortage of armored vehicles. They've lost thousands. But it's not just about running out of tanks. It's about the total dominance of Ukrainian drones.
It's the speed, right. I'm trying to get inside the head of the Russian commander who orders this. A dirt bike can hit, maybe 70, 72 kilometers per hour over rough ground?
That's the logic. Yeah, think about the kill zone. That's the open ground you have to cross to get to the enemy.
Yeah.
If you're in a tank, you're a big, slow target. An FPV, a first-person view drone, it's faster than a bike, sure, but they have very limited battery life, limited range. The Russian thinking seems to be, if we go fast enough, spread out, maybe we can cross that kill zone before the drone operator can even line up a proper shot.
It's a gamble, a really terrifying gamble. The sources are calling these banzai attacks.
That's exactly what Ukrainian commanders call them. It's incredibly high risk, and most of them fail spectacularly. We have reports of fields just littered with burned out motorcycles and mangled metal. But, and here's the tactical nuance, if they do succeed, that speed lets Russian infantry storm a trench before Ukrainian artillery can even dial in the coordinates.
So they're just trading lives for speed.
Precisely.
And what about the equipment? Because this just paints such a vivid picture. It's not military-grade stuff. We're seeing Chinese Desert Cross buggies, even electric scooters, ATVs. I think I even saw reports of cages welded onto the bikes.
Yes, they are trying literally anything. Imagine a dirt bike with a crude metal cage welded over the rider to try and detonate a drone before it hits them. They're strapping electronic warfare jamming kits to the lid bikes to try and scramble the drone signals.
But just think about the human experience of that. You're on a loud motorcycle, the engine's screaming, you've got a helmet on, you can't hear a drone buzzing overhead.
Yeah.
You are completely exposed. There's no armor plating, no blast protection. You are, in essence, meat armor for the engine.
That's the grim reality. One Ukrainian brigade put it pretty ironically. They said, another day, a few more burned iron horses. But the numbers, they're just staggering. We're talking about the destruction of 100 motorcycles in a single offensive near Pokrovsk.
And another 70 destroyed near Velika Novosilka. It's attrition on an industrial scale. Which brings us to the bigger question. Why? Why is a nation with Russia's resources, a supposed superpower, resorting to tactics that just look desperate?
It feels desperate, I agree, but you have to look deeper. I found a paper that suggests this might just be the new economic reality of war. It's not madness, it's math.
This is that paper by Michael Aaron Cody, right? The End of the Exposed Warfighter.
That's the one. It's published just earlier this month. And it effectively argues that the era of the human soldier on the actual front line is over.
I read through it and my jaw just hit the floor. The math it's absolutely brutal.
It is cold, hard economics. The core idea is that modern war is governed by regeneration speed. Systems that you can build and replace in days like drones will always defeat systems that take years to replace, like tanks or trained soldiers.
Okay, let's break that math down for everyone, because it really is startling. We hear drones are cheap all the time, but put it in perspective for us.
Okay, so consider the cost asymmetry. An FPV drone costs, what, maybe $1,000? Often less if you're building it from consumer parts.
$1,000.
A Russian T-90 tank costs about $4.5 million. That's a ratio of, what, roughly 5,000 to 1?
5,000 to 1. So theoretically, you can crash 4,999 drones into the mud, and if the 5,000th one hits the tank, you've still broken even.
Theoretically, yes. Even if 80% of your drones miss or get jammed by EW, the attacker still wins the economic war by a landslide. It becomes a spreadsheet calculation. But it gets even worse when you look at the human factor.
This one.
Right. A trained soldier costs over $100,000 to train and equip properly. But more importantly, it takes time. It takes 6 to 12 months to get a civilian combat ready. A drone takes weeks, sometimes days to make. The Cody paper argues that humans are becoming economically non-viable on the very front line.
Economically non-viable. That is such a chilling phrase to use for human being. It sounds like a corporation downsizing, not a military strategy.
It is chilling, but the paper introduces this concept of the exposure layer. Basically, the battlefield has become transparent. If you can be seen, you can be killed. And with constant drone surveillance, thermal cameras, satellites, everything is seen.
There was a quote in there from captured Russian soldiers that really stuck with me. They said they never even saw the enemy infantry, they only saw drones.
Exactly. The drone has become the first contact layer.
Yeah.
The argument is that humans have to move back into command roles because putting them in that front exposure layer, that zone of death, is just throwing away resources you can't replace fast enough.
So if we look at this through the lens of the news we started with, Russia is throwing cheap bikes and, in their view, cheap lives at the problem because they just can't afford to lose the tanks anymore. The tank is too valuable to risk, but the soldier, in their doctrine, the soldier is expendable.
That is the Russian calculation, yes.
Yeah.
But here's where we see the contrast. Ukraine is doing something totally different. They're leveraging this asymmetry in a way that's frankly incredible. And not just on land. They're using this math to dismantle Russian power everywhere.
Right. If you want to see this cost asymmetry really play out, you have to look at the Black Sea. This is a favorite topic of mine because it defies all conventional military logic. Ukraine has effectively no conventional navy, no battleships, no cruisers, and
yet they've destroyed or disabled roughly a third of the entire Russian Black Sea fleet.
Yeah.
A fleet that was supposed to be the master of that whole region.
The Moskva. I remember when that happened, it just felt like a turning point.
The flagship, a massive symbol of power, valued at roughly $750 million, sunk by 2 Neptune missiles. But look at the more recent stuff with the drone boats. Take the Sergei Kotov, a modern patrol ship worth $65 million. It was swarmed and sunk by Magura V-5C drones.
And those drones cost What?
Maybe $250,000 each.
So you're looking at a ratio of what, 50 to 1? Even better, depending on how many they use?
Exactly. And the strategic impact is just undeniable. The Russian fleet had to retreat from Sevastopol all the way to Novorossiysk. Ukraine reopened its shipping corridors. They achieved naval dominance, or at least naval denial, without a navy. It proves that expendable cheap systems defeat capital-intensive platforms because they can be replaced faster.
It's David and Goliath, but David has a 3D printer and a factory that prints unlimited slingshot.
That is a perfect analogy. And Goliath is going bankrupt, trying to buy new armor.
So we know why the tactics are shifting. We see the math. But I want to pivot to how Ukraine is surviving this. Because they're fighting a much larger enemy with deeper pockets and more botters to throw into the grinder. And the sources point to something unique. It's not just Western aid, it's their civil society.
This is the secret sauce, really. We have a great report from the Sydocking Security Center that details this. In Ukraine, you have this concept of total defense. It's not just the military fighting, it's coders, engineers, grandmothers, marketing executives, all acting as a driver of change.
I was looking at the list of these organizations in the report. Come Back Alive stood out to me. They aren't just a charity collecting spare change, are they?
Far from it. Come Back Alive is massive. They've raised something like $425 million. But they aren't just buying socks and energy drinks, they're buying high-tech gear. They set up the Yatagan UAV school to train drone pilots. They have a safe home demining initiative. They're essentially doing the job of a Ministry of Defense, but with the speed of a Silicon Valley startup.
And then there's Aerosvitka. These guys sound like characters out of a cyberpunk novel.
They basically are. They started as a group of volunteer IT experts. They realized the Army needed better coordination, so they built the Delta Situational Awareness System.
Okay, explain Delta to me like I'm 5, because situational awareness sounds like a military buzzword.
Think of it like Google Maps or Waze, but for artillery. A drone pilot spots a Russian tank. He tags the location on his tablet. Instantly, that tag appears on a map for an artillery commander 10 miles away. No radio calls, no long chain of command. It integrates data from robots, drones, satellites, and puts it all on one screen. It speeds up the kill chain dramatically.
That's incredible. And they built this from scratch.
From scratch. This is pure bottom-up innovation. They also built the R-18 Octocopter, a drone specifically designed to drop bombs on tanks at night.
And we can't forget the Pritchula Foundation, the People's Satellite. I remember seeing that in the headlines.
Oh, that was a huge moment for national morale and for capability. They crowdfunded enough money from ordinary citizens, donating $5 or $10, to buy full access to an ICIE radar satellite.
Why is that specific satellite so important?
Because it uses radar imaging. It lets Ukraine see through clouds, through smoke, even at night. Russia can't hide just because the weather's bad anymore.
It's just incredible agility. The report mentions that for some brigades, these NGOs are supplying something like 30 to 100% of their critical supplies.
Yes, specifically things like consumable tech drones and transport like pickup trucks. The state procurement system is big, slow, bureaucratic. It takes months to sign contracts. The NGOs bridge that gap. They can buy 1,000 drones today and have them at the front tomorrow.
I read that FPV drones actually started as a kitchen assembly volunteer project.
They did. People were literally soldering these things together on their kitchen tables before the military even adopted them as official doctrine. The civilians led the military innovation.
That is the very definition of agility. So let's try and synthesize all this. We have two very different models of war clashing here. On one side, you've got Russia, a massive top-down power running out of modern gear, resorting to these Mad Max meat assaults on dirt bikes just to save money.
Right.
And on the other side, you have Ukraine, leveraging a mobilized civil society to build cheap, high-tech solutions that completely exploit that economic asymmetry.
That's the summary. We are witnessing the end of the exposed warfighter. Future wars, and really, the war right now, are being fought by machines at the front, commanded by humans in the rear. The winner is the side that can build cheap robots the fastest and integrate them the smartest.
And it really highlights the difference in values, doesn't it? Ukraine's model is democratic, it's bottom-up, innovative, it values the life of the soldier, so it builds robots to take the hit. Russia's model is, well, it's a meat grinder. It treats the human as cheaper than the tank.
It is a stark contrast. But we have to be realistic here. Ukraine is winning the math war in many ways, but they need sustained international support to keep that civil sector running. They have the innovation, but they need the resources. A volunteer movement can do miracles, but it still needs fuel.
Absolutely. The innovation is there, the spirit is there. It's about keeping that supply chain moving so that Europe remains secure.
You know, this whole conversation raises a really provocative thought for me. If we accept the premise of the Cody paper, that the exposure layer belongs to machines now, what's the ethical justification for sending any infantry into direct fire in the future?
That's a heavy question.
Think about it. Are we watching The Last War where humans are the primary scent-line sensors? If a $1,000 drone can do the job of a soldier without the risk of death, are we reaching a point where exposing a human soldier is not just tactically inefficient but morally wrong?
That is something that will keep me up tonight. The idea that the soldier's role is fundamentally changing from fighter to operator. We're just watching history change in real time.
It's a shift as big as the invention of gunpowder, and we are seeing it play out every single day in the fields of Donetsk.
Well, on that heavy note, we're going to wrap it up. This has been a fascinating look at how a few dirt bikes in Donetsk can signal a complete rewrite of the rules of war.
It certainly has.
You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. And remember, if you want to stay ahead of the curve, subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.